Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to finish off today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. If you'd like to submit your own special selection, you can find the link to do so in the description below the video. Today's special selection comes at us from Jordan. It says, after the sort of standing ovation you gave Cryptodira, which I actually went out and bought their album. I really enjoyed that track, and I like what the band's doing. It says, I figure I have to give you something else too. I really can't decide here, so I'm going to leave it up to a coin toss on your end, if that's okay. If not, just go with heads. But anyways, here's my idea. Heads, Son of Aurelius, Chorus of the Earth. Or tails, Today I Caught the Plague, Columbella. Enjoy. I hope either of them treats you as well as Cryptodira did. So I'm looking forward to this. I actually did do the coin toss. We ended up with heads, as you can probably tell from the name of the video. We're going to be looking at Son of Aurelius, Chorus of the Earth. So let's dive in and see what these guys are bringing to the table. Getting right into it. Ooh, oh, whoa! Shifting around this triplet feel from on beats to back beats. Bass right here is super fat too, I'm really digging it. Interesting too that we heard that riff in like 3 different contexts in about a minute. Drums are killing it here. Heard that hi-hat just a bit ago. Oh, yeah, those choke cymbal hits. All of this syncopated rhythmic stuff against these long, drawn-out notes in the vocals is so good. Yeah, we got harsh layers there. It's so hard even to have the snare sitting there guiding me. It's hard to really follow that. It's interesting too how often they'll slip into and out of groove. Yeah, just belting that out. the air control just to do that entire line right there on the vocals. Oh, what? Oh, that bass is getting funky. Oh, dude, that accent on the end of 4? Yeah, that's so weird. That's so weird. I love how they can interject these chill vibes. Both of these guitar solos, really great songwriting. Okay. That is such a fat bass tone, though. Huh. Interesting way to end that. Yeah, there's a lot of really neat ideas in there. And just personally, I enjoyed it. Like a lot. There's some really cool stuff going on that works for me on both, let me get this out of the way, on like a technical level, digging into some of the stuff that they're doing structurally or musically. And of course, we'll dig into the lyrics later and see if maybe they have some cohesion going on there between the musical themes and the lyrical themes. But it's also just a really good jam that works well for me and what I typically enjoy listening to. So, to start with, I really want to dive into theme and variation. I think that's a good place to start here. I'm not too sure about all the movements that happen in the middle of the song. There's a lot of interesting ideas that are there, melodically, structurally, rhythmically, just how a lot of things are playing off of each other. There's a lot of movement in the middle that I didn't quite see any patterns to. However, there is that opening lick that we move through a couple of variations on, and we see pulled into future ideas as well. And I really like having this sort of cornerstone foundational element of the song that seems to get presented throughout the track. And it's this idea of the three, that da 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 da. All right. And the cool thing is that we have this idea. I think it's 3/8 notes. Yeah. So we have 3/8 notes. And the cool thing is, though, is that they find ways to manipulate them and create tiny variations on it that uh, drastically alter the way that it feels. One of the ways they do it is to change where the beat sits against it. And I think that's the most disorienting one, because I think if you listen to just the guitars doing this rhythm, you block out everything else, and it's going to be the same thing over and over. But what gets really wonky is when the drums come in, they emphasize the downbeat. So you get that da 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 da. But then in a little bit, they might emphasize the second beat or the third beat or emphasize that fourth beat that's actually technically a rest. Um, so you get this shifting momentum that makes it feel like the song is jerking around when actually, it's not. The guitars are sitting there just playing the same thing. And, I'm thinking about this and how much work and concentration has to go into it for the guitarist to have to lay this down and not follow what the drums and bass are doing with their emphasized offbeat hits. And it's man, that would take a lot of work to stay in that groove rather than try to work with the metronome that's kind of shifting around you. But the end result is phenomenal. I love the way that sounds. And then they also change it up a little bit when they introduce the chord progression that changes through it. When we settle back down on that, the downbeat idea, and we shift to moving chords rather than moving emphasized note, moving rhythmic structure. And so we see another variation on this idea as we get to hear some of the chordal structure that's going to go into the creation of the song. I love this as an intro. It introduces us to the theme. It introduces us to one of the modulations on the theme, and a modulation is going to appear throughout the song. And it introduces us to the core foundational chord structure that's going to underline the rest of the track. It is a beautiful way to start the song off. Plus, it immediately gets the listener out of their comfort zone. Having that highly disjointed rhythmic idea immediately tells the listener, hey, it's not going to be an easy ride. You can't sit here and just tune out and do easy listening. You're going to get really disjointed that way and, out of sorts. So, get ready for the ride kind of idea. And I think that's a great way to start a song. Um, then the first section, I think we bring in the clean vocals. I think they're phenomenal. I really like these vocals. They sit in a range that I think is, at least for me, it's a nice middle point. I'm not a real big fan on lower voices. I find them impressive, right? Especially since they seem to be a bit on the rarer side. A lot of rock and metal kind of goes towards an upper range. Actually, pop music kind of does too. There's just a lot of male vocalists that are a bit in the higher range and tend to go for the belting stuff. Like that's the super impressive stuff. And I think it's a bit rarer when we get bands like Five Finger Death Punch that we get these lower vocals to. And for whatever reason, I'm not a big fan of them. I prefer the higher pitch stuff. Like I said, I appreciate them. It's just not usually what I like to listen to. And I wonder if that's kind of because guitars kind of fill in the higher range role. So I kind of like having the vocals within them, especially competing with. I don't know. I'm not here to psychoanalyze my musical tastes. let's let's get back into this. Anyways, I think these vocals sit in a really nice range where it's not as high as a lot of more mainstream rock artists are going to be in. And we can hear a couple of times when he goes, and I think he really pushes his range. He has fantastic control up there, but he can also bring it down and be a bit more subdued and grounded. So it's a nice little middle ground between having that super lower end voice like a band like Five Finger Death Punch, or something that sits maybe a half an octave higher that would be more traditionally uh, standard, I suppose, that we hear a lot more often in this sort of rock style. So yeah, just I don't know why I went on that little tangent about his vocals. It's just I really like where they're placed, where his comfortable range is. And I'll probably touch on the vocals more in a bit because he has some fantastic breath control. Uh, we'll touch on him in a bit, Brian. Come on, let's focus. So the vocals come in, and we have these really nice moving lines in the guitar. And I love this immediate shift. Like, hey, we just showed you that we're rhythmically interesting. We just showed you some chord progressions, let you know where we're going there. Also, check out our melodic playing. And the guitars come in and they're doing this really nice line. And I think it's a beautiful way to introduce this next section. We got these clean vocals here as well. It isn't long though until we start getting these layers. Okay, the drums come in, and the drums are probably my favorite part of the track. They are constantly uh, just very ornamental. There's not a lot of metronome going on with the drummer. The drummer does tend to, play down a more of a metronome kind of rhythmic style every once in a while, but the fills are super extended. It's not like they, the drummer doesn't fill in the last, two bars of a phrase. The drummer fills in the last two bars of a phrase. Yeah, not the last two beats, the last two bars. Like these super long fills that start early on in the repetition and just kind of lead into the next section. And there's little bits of ornamentation everywhere. Little cymbal hits, extra cymbal hits. We were doing, like quarter notes or something, and then there's just like some eighth notes, some swing eighth notes tossed in every once in a while. Or even just like a fast 16th after the downbeat hit, so you get the tss, and just really great stuff all around with playing the drum kit as another instrument rather than a rhythmic component to the song. Just really great sense for that type of drum work. So the drums come in, the guitars come in, vocals come in, and it isn't too long though until, like I said, we start adding layers. We get more guitars, the drums become more dense, and then the rhythmic section comes back, and the vocals shift into these long held out notes, and I absolutely love this part. First of all, we're getting a variation on our theme, right? We are introducing it into a new context. There's new instrumentation around it, there's new drum patterns around it, we have vocals within it, and these vocals are playing these nice long notes that are contrasting this highly syncopated rhythmic idea. And it is just a beautiful combination of things. Not only does it sound great on its own, but we have this nice contrast, and we are reintroducing an idea that we've already showcased before, that was already groovy, that people were already jamming with, and saying, hey, we can combine it with this more melodic stuff that you thought we were going to go back and forth on. No, we're bringing them together. Chocolate and peanut butter at the same time, man. And I absolutely love how they've worked. What is this, like a minute and a half, 2 minutes into the song right here? And I think everything they've done is a masterclass in structure, a masterclass in laying down a thesis statement, getting the listener in the right headspace, and then subverting expectations almost immediately and saying you thought you knew what we were in for, and you don't. And it's done so well. We kind of bounce around between these ideas of the sparser, more melodic playing in the guitar, and then the heavier, louder, more rhythmic oriented ideas. We bounce between those a couple of times. The vocals, when we hit the chorus, they actually come up a little bit in range, get some belting out there, some really powerful vocals that are in contrast to some of the quieter stuff, more reserved, more comfortable singing from the verse. And then we get into this really nice section, which is sort of a medium power. And we have this really nice tom fill build-up into the heaviest section of the song. We get the harsh vocals coming in. The guitars really go distorted on this part. They don't actually drop down in range, which I think is interesting. Usually in a lot of, especially modern metalcore music, when we're moving from something a little bit more melodic to something heavier and rhythmic, there's going to be a drop in range, right? You go from your soaring melody lines down to lowest notes you got for a nice breakdown or something like really heavy and rhythmic or something. And no, we kind of stick with the range that they were using already. We just kind of increase the grit on it. And I actually like that because it, even though there's extra weight and punch and power to this section, there's still that levity and beauty to it that we don't typically find in sections like this. So I think that's just a great way that they kind of stand out a little bit. But I do want to talk about the transition into this section, and I really love it. The vocals are increasing their intensity. We go from something more of a very comfortable singing voice, more power, more volume, higher range. The vocalist is increasing intensity. The musicality and the guitars are increasing intensity, and the drummer went to this full on tom fill. There might have been some snare and cymbal in there as well. But to me, it was about this bubbling energy. It was like all tom. Put in a couple snares, put in a couple cymbals, and just really bringing this energy up to its climax when the harsh vocals come in and the heavy guitars come in with their rhythmic idea rather than the music, the melodic one we just had. It is perfect. It's beautiful. It's the type of not really foreshadowing, but seamless transition that I really love to hear. They just do a fantastic job of it. And then I think after the section was when we went into that sort of chill vibe section. Like a Hawaiian flamenco idea is kind of what I'm remembering, but that might be a little off. If that makes sense to you, excellent. If it doesn't, I'm not 100% sure I'm right with that description anyways. But that's kind of what I was like a chill sort of like a chill atmosphere, chill kind of chord progression, but sort of a flowery rhythmic concept going on. I think that's where I get like that chill flamenco thing going. Um, and this part completely took me off guard. It was a huge shift, and once again, just the band keeping me on my toes. Yeah, that's the right phrase. They continue to change up the vibes that they're going for and showcase new ideas all throughout the song, usually in a way that makes sense. This, I think, was just in stark contrast to the previous transition, which was very smooth. And much like we have these contrasting ideas overall, in the micro, with idea to idea having contrast, where we have maybe a quiet section and then a loud bombastic section, or a harsh sort of closer to metal idea. It's about contrasting these ideas. Um, Now we're looking at it at a macro level. The last time that we had a transition, it was smooth. This time you might have been expecting a smooth one, but it's not. This one's a bit more rigid. We were doing this, now we're doing this. And they're just paying attention to the song structure on every level and making sure that their ideas of contrast and variety are exercised and showcased in every aspect from the moment to moment to the larger idea. It is just, man, every part of this song is so well done. And yeah, beautifully done. And then I think after that, we go back to like another verse chorus, like another quiet and then another loud section, if I remember correctly. And somewhere in there was a guitar solo. I want to talk about that for a bit. We had one guitar solo and then something in between, and then we hit another guitar solo. I think it was more like a 16 bar guitar solo and like 8 bar interlude, kind of sticking with the same vibe, but not necessarily doing a guitar solo, and then bringing in the next set of guitar solos, which were back to back or alternating or something like that. And the guitar solo, right, basically the melody writing in these sections, I thought was extremely well done. It did a little bit of musicianal showcasing where they can show off their skills. There's a section that was like heavily tapped. There was some faster playing. Like they could show off a bit, but the flow of these melodic lines from start to finish were fantastic. There were very few sections that I felt were a bit rigid, where it was we were doing this idea and now we're doing this idea, and you can feel that break between what we were doing and what we were doing next. It's that idea of transition. Actually, I never really thought about that. I don't think I've ever made this connection. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about in guitar solos when I talk about rigidity in the storytelling of a guitar solo. When I can say, oh, this is the tapping part, and this is the sweeping part, and this is the the tremolo part. What I mean is that there's not enough of an overall story being told, but there's also poor transitions between them. You can't just transition from tremolo picking to sweeping. You need something to kind of move the story into that direction. Maybe you need to, slow down your tremolo picking until you hit the speed that your sweeps are going to be at, so it doesn't feel like this stark difference. Something like that. It's going to help a lot with the flow of your melodic storytelling of your guitar solos. And this song does it well. Like I said, there were a couple of sections that I felt were a bit rigid, where I felt like we moved from one idea to the next, and there's just a very stark gap between the two ideas. But for the most part, it employed their ability to, pave over these transitions very well with transitory ideas. And it's just, yeah, every part of this, so much attention to this song, so much attention to little details or even large details, and making sure that everything works as it should, as they expected it to, whether it's on a minute level or the larger level of the song. It's just, it's really, it's done so well. I don't think, if I listened to this for another three, four, 5 times, I would have new things to gush about just because, I can't stop talking about the structure as it is. And I'm sure I only got a cursory glance at it since I only heard it once. So yeah, just fantastic stuff all around. And of course, the musicianship, the performance aspect is just phenomenal. The bassist is highly technical. I love all the bass lines throughout. The guitarist got to show off their chops. The drummer's constantly showing off his chops. And the vocalist got to show off some very clean, comfortable singing. He got to show off some powerful belting singing. He got to show off some harshes, two types of harshes actually, because a lot of the harshes were layered with like a higher fry and a lower growl underneath it, or maybe a lower fry. I don't know. So yeah, everybody just got a chance to show off on this, and that was just phenomenal. Um, I guess the next thing to do would be to dive into some of the lyrics, and see what's going on here. I don't think I really picked up on any musical themes. It was really just kind of the structural elements and the performance that stood out to me. But yeah, let's see what's going on. And I've got nothing. These lyrics lost me in the first 4 lines. Go into a place that I've always known, but by the time I arrive, it's already gone, as it always is, but always wasn't. There's definitely this idea of trying to find something, a place, about walking and moving and making this journey. By the end of it, says, wasted away when I awaken from the daze. My legs barely carry me high enough to crest the mountain to the sky. From great heights, I observed machines that were, and I know I've heard them before. Yeah, I've got no idea. I really figured with the title Chorus of the Earth that it was going to be something very positive. The song has this brightness to it. I even talked about that they don't really go into the lower end range of the guitars, even for the heavier breakdown sections. They stick to that lightness, right? They keep some of that beauty in the guitars rather than going down for some of the gritty sounds. And Chorus of the Earth, Maybe it's about people coming together to be the choir of the earth, or the earth just singing about how awesome it is or something. And it's about this person who looks for something that isn't there, and instead finds machines on this planet that's, I don't know, there's a lot of struggle in here, a lot of negative aspects to the story. Not being able to find what you thought you were, and the world changing in ways that aren't always great. And yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of lost here. There's a lot of very flowery imagery here that I'm really interested in breaking down into and seeing how it relates to the music. But again, I really didn't pick up on many themes other than just the overall brightness of the music. It was more of a structural thing that entertained me. But I guess this is where I'm going to end this one. This is where you guys come in. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this one or not. If there's anything that stood out to you. Anything that maybe I talked on, you think I didn't expand upon, or anything that I didn't touch on at all. And you're like, how could you miss this? Put that stuff in the comments. If there's any interviews with these guys about the authorial intent behind this track, I'm also interested in that. When you're done commenting, you can head up to the description box. In there is a link for Linktree. It'll take you to this menu right here, which is a fantastic resource for everything related to the channel. You can join the Patreon. You can follow me on Twitter. You can join the Discord community. You can pick up some merch. You can see what's coming up next on Special Selection. You can submit your own special selections. There's just a ton of stuff in there. And above the description box, as usual, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. All three of those greatly help out the channel. Alright, that wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. We'll be looking at another vocal harmonies track as well as another special selection. Alright, until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.